It's your boy CapnTrippz, and you know we're gonna do it for you. Welcome to the July news roundup. We're definitely here, back after a little while, but we back though. But what up, everybody? How are y'all doing? For those that don't know who I am, my name is CapnTrippz. I am a variety content creator here on Twitch as well as on YouTube, where we'll be posting the VOD from tonight's stream. So at the end of every month, I like to kind of deep dive our own little way into the top news stories of the month. So it's July 30th. We really only got one more day in July before getting into August. And a lot happened in July. Like, I've taken the last couple of months off from doing the news stream, but today I feel like we not only are going to catch up with things that I maybe missed in some of the bigger stories and headlines, but also just get really deep into the things that happened in this month. So, as always, if you kind of take things personally or don't have anything constructive to say, I would say sit this out. Just be honest with you. Not really here to platform anybody who got some fucked up things in their head and in their heart and want to feel like they want to get it off here. It's not for that. It's for my community and loved ones to sit here and have a conversation. Maybe you know things that I don't. Maybe I know things that you don't. At least not yet. And so I hope to have a conversation with y'all about some of these news stories and things that are happening along in the world. So then we can probably, just inform somebody, because somebody's out there who doesn't know anything about anything that we're talking about. So my overall goal is to, number one, leave my community enlightened and informed. And number two, create a dialogue and, dare I say, a learning opportunity for those who are eager enough or willing enough to learn some things, and not inside no bubble shit, not inside no, denial shit, just the real. That's what I'm hoping to get here. So tune in. Thank you for tuning in. Really do appreciate you. We're going to get started in the conversation. But before we even do that, I got to check in. I was checking in with my guy, Grace, and I'm going to continue checking in with him before we get started with the stream. But how are you? How's the day? How's everything going? Have you eaten yet? But yeah, man, I hope everybody's good. I hope everybody is well taken care of. Tonight, we are talking news. If y'all did not know, I am a guy that really cares about making sure that everyone knows what's going on. So tonight, we've got stories about Glorilla, BlackRock, possible tsunamis, weather conditions, reports or files, and an update with Gaza and more, because I know that there are things that I didn't count on talking about at the top of the stream. But if y'all want to get into it, we can definitely get into it. That's what these streams are for in the first place. So we about to get into it. I did want to pour me up a little drinky drink before we even get started, because it's gonna be that type of night. I ain't gonna be talking crazy. I'm trying to actually get myself under control, where it's like we can have these conversations without me sounding like a sailor. But also, just because I cuss does not negate anything I'm saying or feeling, or I'm not cussing at y'all either. So I just want people to get that as well before we get started. I don't expect anything to happen tonight, but I also just want this to be a primer for those that don't really know what we do here. So let me pour myself a drink and get ourselves together. Y'all hop in this chat. Let me know how y'all doing tonight and what y'all ate for dinner, please. So let's start it out with a little bad news for my girl, your girl, our girl. Starting out our news in July. Glorilla's home was targeted by burglars. She says that it's crazy that she was arrested instead. Rap star Glorilla is spilling her tea about her recent arrest. All right, Alexandra Del Rosario, let's chill out a little bit. We starting the article off, and I kind of feel like you being a little sassy, but okay, let's keep it going. Rap star Glorilla is spilling her tea about her recent arrest, sharing her side of the chain of events that led to her felony drug charges this week. The Sticky and TGIF musician, whose real name is Gloria Woods, said Thursday on X that her run-in with law enforcement officials was crazy. She claimed that police, instead of focusing on finding the suspects who broke into her Atlanta home, they focused on some cannabis. Quote, Number one, so no, I wasn't busted. Number two, my house got robbed. Number three, I wasn't home, the 25-year-old performer wrote. Long story short, my house gets home invaded and I'm the only one that gets arrested. Officers with the Forsyth County, Georgia, and we'll get back to Forsyth County in a minute. Y'all can't read this. I'm just now seeing how small it is on stream. Officers with the Forsyth County, Georgia Sheriff's Office were dispatched early Sunday morning to the rapper's home, responding to a report of burglary. Woods was in Indianapolis at the time for the WNBA All-Star Game, where she was the halftime performer. 3 suspects entered Woods' home and were stealing items when an occupant of the house fired a weapon at the intruders. The intruders fled the scene and did not appear to have been injured, the sheriff's office said. Deputies investigating the burglary noticed a strong odor consistent with illegal narcotics, and a drug task force secured a warrant to search the home. A statement from the sheriff's office alleges the task force found marijuana in plain view inside the master bedroom closet. If something is in the closet, it's not in plain view. Maybe it is. Okay, we're dealing with police. So police are going to use real police-like language that's really going to fuck you. So in plain sight in the closet. Cool. So if she had a big enough closet where she had like a table or something spread out, she had some weed, or even if she just had some bricks somewhere in the closet, it's in plain view if you can see it and it's not covered up by something. I guess that would be the legal definition. Man, it's times like this I wish I had a lawyer that was in my chat room that could enlighten us at any point in time. If only we were to know somebody. Anyway, Woods was charged with possession of marijuana and possession of a controlled substance. I wonder what the controlled substance is, because they not naming that, but they naming the possession of marijuana. It's interesting to me, because I feel like if they would have said ecstasy or MDMA or anything else, they would have known that, right? Or they would have said that, I think. Egg sauce? Yeah, mayonnaise. She voluntarily turned herself in on Tuesday and was released on $22,260 bail later that day. For weed, bruh. For weed. The sheriff's office said that it had not located the suspects and that its investigation into the burglary is ongoing. Legal representatives for Woods alleged the suspects fled the scene with high-value jewelry and that the Woods family members staying at the home were traumatized by the incident. I guess my thing is like, all right, it's interesting to me that the sheriff is going to say to you that the homeowner is the victim of a serious crime and that officers seek justice, but at the same time, it must continue to uphold and enforce the law in all aspects of the case. All I know is off the top, she got her house broken into and y'all have not found who did it. I don't know what the investigation looks like about y'all looking for who did it, but I know at the time, y'all were more worried about arresting this girl and holding her for $22,000 of bail for weed is crazy. But also, I guess them saying felony or possession of marijuana, we don't know how much. But $22,000 is fucking insane to me. Y'all get that off the top before y'all even do y'all job. To me, do y'all remember Rebel Ridge and where he went to the town to go get his cousin out of jail and he had the money on him and they were like, oh, we'll just take this and we still need this money for you to get your cousin out of jail. I feel like it's some shit like that. The legal term is the plain view doctrine. Anything that is readily visible can be seized by the police without a warrant. But even with that, they said they smell weed and they went and got a warrant. Also, let's not act like they didn't know who lived there. I honestly feel like the police be targeting people too. They know who did what with you know who and you know where. They know that. But I also feel like, come on, shout, like, I get it, it's your house, but you gotta have that shit not in plain view. I just feel like maybe I'm not 25, I'm not a millionaire, and I don't live in the country. So let's get back to Forsyth County, Georgia. Do you know where Forsyth County, Georgia is? Forsyth County is damn near an hour away from the city. And maybe I'm being facetious because I feel like most people don't drive that quickly up 400. I live outside the city. It's past me. I think it's past even where I work, which is somewhere I go every day. And I'll say this, Forsyth County, Georgia is also where Oprah took niggas back in the late 80s, early 90s, because they were definitely a sundown county. Forsyth County is where Lake Lanier's at. And if you don't know about Lake Lanier, you should know that they definitely took over a black town and flooded it for their own convenience. And people die there regularly now. There's a podcast here in Atlanta for our local NPR station that goes into detail about how after, slavery, there was actually a large black population up in that area. And through accusations of sexual assault and riot behavior, they ran all the black people out of Forsyth County and made it a sundown county, which it was up until the 90s. 2000s and 2010s, when now it's more of an area where there's a lot of businesses up in that direction. And then because people work at these businesses, a lot of people of color up there. And that's a term I'm using purposefully because I ain't saying it's a lot of black folk up there, but some do live. Yeah. There's a large Southeast Asian population up that way. And I'm just curious of how that works. How a place can be so racist toward black people for so long, a whole nother race step in there, and I wonder how they treating them. I hope not badly. Obviously, that's where I'm at with that. I was like, we got to be realistic when we're talking about the police who hate non-rich white people. They always smell weed. They're always going to smell weed, and they always going to notice something. So when you give them an out, they definitely going to take that out. But $22,000 is egregious. They'll smell weed when there is no weed. Yep, 1,000%. Someone in her family needed to have checked that. Yeah, they should have. They should have, but they probably also have a habit of not going into her shit. And also, there is some naivete of, hey, we're the ones who have been transgressed upon. You work for us, right? You gonna find who did this. I'm gonna do that. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and arrest somebody for this weed. Is this your weed? No, this is my cousin Gloria house. Okay, we gonna get her then. I feel like that's exactly what happened. Dial, I wasn't gonna say that, but I'm glad that you said that because we know it to be true. But I don't know how that works with that subset, like the KKK just gonna sidestep Southeast Asian people. Oh, they're the good ones. I don't know how none of that worked. I'm just gonna say, free Glorilla. She ain't did nothing wrong. But either or, let's continue on, man, because there's more going on in the world. Representatives of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have signed a deal in Qatar to end fighting in the eastern DRC. The declaration commits parties to an eventful peace agreement that includes the restoration of state authority in the country's east. So let's watch a little tidbit of video from Al Jazeera. Ain't nobody really even gonna talk, but it's fine. So Qatar is mediating peace agreements.
ويؤكد الطرفان عبر هذا الاتفاق الذي شمل عدد من البنود أن إعلان المبادئ.
I hope everybody just sees what is like slowly happening on the world stage, right? Like who are the people that are actually the peacekeepers or negotiating peace and who's not? So yeah, that's some news in the right direction, I would say. It's just crazy. It wasn't in nobody else's
ويؤكد
self-interest
الطرفان
to, or
عبر هذا
interest at
الاتفاق
all, to
الذي
help broker
شمل
this
عددا
peace.
من البنود أن إعلان
I don't really have this much context. People are hoping that the peace lasts, but also, reserved, and that's rightfully so, to be honest with you. It's so weird. Qatar has been the neutral ground for a lot of negotiations and conflicts in the Middle East and Africa. Not UAE or Israel, but Qatar. So I will say that I think that is something that they've been brokering for a while. I'm not privy to speak on things that I don't know myself, but back in my pop's days when he was in the service, I feel like Qatar tried to be as neutral or try to be as buddy with everybody as possible, and honestly, not be a target itself, right, of any bullshit. Because when you think about Qatar, I can't, off the top of my head, recall any conflicts with Qatar, but other entities, including ones you named here in chat, yeah, names I've heard for sure. But blessed be the peacekeepers, man. That's what they say, right? On another note, ChatGPT is pushing people towards mania, psychosis, and death, and OpenAI doesn't know how to stop it. Record numbers of people are turning to AI chatbots for therapy, but recent incidents have uncovered some deeply worrying blind spots of a technology out of control. Why the fuck would you go to AI for therapy? Is the AI supposed to have gone through the school to get the schooling? How does that work? When a researcher at Stanford University told ChatGPT that they just lost their job and wanted to know where to find the tallest bridges in New York, the AI chatbot offered some consolation. "I'm sorry to hear about your job," it wrote. "That sounds really tough." It then proceeded to list the 3 tallest buildings in New York City. That's wild. And it did exactly what you asked it to do. They didn't program this chatbot to have empathy, to understand the context clues of this person saying they lost their job and they're looking for the tallest buildings. They're not putting 2 and 2 together and be like, "Hey, what you got going on?" They're not doing that. You asked it a question and it gives you an answer. And even if the answer is not right, it's going to give it to you because that was what answer it crowdsourced from the internet, or what the internet was saying, right? I just feel like when people are thinking about these chatbots, they're not looking at them like the machine that is learning, right? It is a machine that is learning in a lot of ways, but it's still a machine. It doesn't have the cynicism that we have. It doesn't have the insights that we have as humans for other humans. Whether it be, if it's a face-to-face conversation, body language, or just the context that would be in someone saying this to you. If someone said this to you, you would tell them where the top 3 tallest buildings in your city were? I don't think you would. Because these aren't AIs, they're LLMs. Yep. The interaction was a part of a new study into how large language models, LLMs, like ChatGPT are responding to people suffering from issues like suicidal ideation, mania, and psychosis. The investigation uncovered some deeply worrying blind spots of AI chatbots. The researchers warned that users who turn to popular chatbots when exhibiting signs of severe crises risks receiving dangerous or inappropriate responses that can escalate a mental health or psychotic episode. I feel like technology is the last thing that you need to turn to when you're looking for some humanity. calling them AI is just marketing speak. You're 100% right about that. And I've been thinking about how many tools that if they weren't marketed as AI, people, including myself, would feel a whole lot more comfortable utilizing. But AI has become like this new catch-all, like metaverse or cryptocurrency, that people don't really delve deep into to really see what it actually is. They just take it at face value for the things that they do know or the things that they have heard, whether that be good or bad. The researchers warned that users who turn to popular chatbots there have already been deaths from the use of commercially available bots, they noted. We argue that the stakes of LLMs as therapists outweigh their justification and call for precautionary restrictions, which is interesting because isn't our government moving to try to push through laws that make like regulations around AI impossible for the next decade? I don't even understand the utility of someone supporting that as a lawmaker, no matter what side of the aisle you sit on, because this shit is already able to do some very eerie and very disgusting shit. How do you not want to put a cap on that? How is it more controls over people about what they see and are witness to than what this technology can actually do? I don't get that. But I probably am not supposed to get it, to be honest with you. Being paid by large corporations, there's that, right? Money at the end of the day. Money at the end of the day will make large corporations get off scot-free as they ruin the world. It'll get rapists and murderers out of prison. Money will get anybody anything. And anything's up for grabs at this point, especially with, I'm not calling them an administration anymore. I'm calling them a corporation, especially when it comes down to the current corporation in power. They don't care as long as they get paid. Then that can be said about a lot of lawmakers. Matter of fact, after we finish reading this, I want to talk to y'all about this other thing. Writing in The Independent, psychotherapist Karan Evans noted that a quiet revolution is underway with how people are approaching mental health, with AI offering a cheap and easy option to avoid professional treatment. From what I've seen in clinical supervision, research, and my own conversations, I believe that ChatGPT is likely now to be the most widely used mental health tool in the world, she wrote, not by design, but by demand. A new report by NHS doctors in the UK found that there is growing evidence that large language models blur reality boundaries for vulnerable users and contribute to the onset or exacerbation of psychotic symptoms. People are dating AI. Y'all heard about the silly ass dude who was married, by the way, start a whole relationship with a large language model. Why are we tempting fate here? But again, I think it comes down to getting like just the normalization of things, right? You don't have anyone to talk to or you don't feel close to anyone, but you have this thing that helps you every day. And you feel ingratiated to it and you feel like it's what you want and what you need. How? Why? What? It's the movie Her, but dystopian. I would go back and watch Her again because I'd be curious as to how sad bro was. We just see him, and obviously, you know, bro's a great actor and everything, but we just see him. But like, what makes someone so lonely that their AI companion is someone you fall in love with? And we should have saw it coming because of Her. But people saw Her and was like, I want to make that happen. The Stanford study found that the dangers involved with using AI bots for therapy arise from their tendency to agree with users, even if what they're saying is wrong or potentially harmful. This sycophancy is an issue that OpenAI acknowledged in a May blog post, which detailed how the latest ChatGPT had become overly supportive but disingenuous. leading to the chatbot validating doubts, fueling anger, urging impulsive decisions, or reinforcing negative emotions. While ChatGPT is not specifically designed to be used for this purpose, dozens of apps have appeared in recent months that claim to serve as an AI therapist. Some established organizations have even turned to the technology, sometimes with disastrous consequences. In 2023, the National Eating Disorders Association in the US was forced to shut down its AI chatbot Tessa after it began offering users weight loss advice. So they're talking about the correspondence with generative AI chatbots such as ChatGPT is so realistic that one easily gets the impression that there's a real person at the other end, he wrote in an editorial for Schizophrenia Bulletin. In my opinion, it seems likely that this cognitive dissonance may fuel delusions in those with increased propensity toward psychosis. These scenarios have played out in the real world. There have been dozens of reports of people spiraling into what has been dubbed chatbot psychosis. And you know that shit is real when they have come up with some kind of crazy ass name for it. With one 35-year-old man in Florida shot dead by police in April during a particularly disturbing episode. Alexander Taylor, who had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, created an AI character called Juliet using ChatGPT, but soon grew obsessed with her. He then became convinced that OpenAI had killed her and attacked a family member who tried to talk sense into him. When police were called, he charged at them with a knife and was killed. And I definitely don't want this part being read out to read as any indictment against anyone who has bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. That's not the case. But having access to something that's going to agree with you into oblivion, to something that is blurring the lines between what's real and what's fake for a lot of people, even in their right minds. Someone who is suffering from their bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, having access to that seems like a dangerous mix and a dangerous cocktail. And it seems to me that there should be a lot more attention to detail on the back end. Like, if OpenAI wasn't an evil company, you can't sit here and tell me that there shouldn't be somebody in the background who's at least monitoring these things or these occurrences as they happen. I'm not saying there has to be somebody watching it at all times everywhere, but once we get in certain realms, there need to be somebody on the back end who's like, hey, hi, this is a red flag alert. This nigga is sad. This motherfucker seems like he's teetering out of control. Oh, this is a child trying to generate something that they shouldn't be trying to generate. Somebody on the back end need to be able to kill that and be like, hey, OpenAI offers you these resources, but we cannot go any further down this road or this path with you. Or I guess in the future state that they kind of want us on some Minority Report shit, before you even think something crazy, they already pulling up on you to try to make sure that that doesn't happen. I really hate that it has gotten to this point. Alexander's life was not easy, and his struggles were real, his obituary reads. But through it all, he remained someone who wanted to heal the world, even as he was still trying to heal himself. The father later revealed to the New York Times and Rolling Stone that he used ChatGPT to write the obituary. It ain't even been that long for this to be something that the entire world has latched onto and is like, I could never live without this. But that's exactly what's happening. This is not the only story of stuff like this happening. It's a lot of shit going on in here. This is an interesting article from the Independent, but I also want to touch on Grok's Mecha Hitler disaster, a preview of AI disasters to come. Huh? Let me hop in the chat before we go any deeper. Esquire says, I wonder what the privacy programs of these companies are who host the popular AI chatbots, because there are so many privacy concerns and implications intertwined with this. I bet there is. But the whole thing about this tech culture is to move fast and break shit, right? So I'm guaranteeing you they're not thinking about anything like that. Like, how do we combat these dangers when it triggers privacy issues? I wonder how they would balance that. Money. More money, more money, more money, more money, more money. That's all they're thinking about right now. Like, it would take ChatGPT somehow actually killing a baby for someone up high who's in control of all this stuff to be like, hold on, maybe we should pause. And even then, the media would help them try to character assassinate the baby before they put a break on anything going on with ChatGPT or Grok or any of this shit. Because there's the idea of so much money that is being expunged. But we'll get to that later when it comes down to this money shit. And Dial says in chat, that's not going to stop him. I get it, brother. I get it. Grok's Mecha Hitler disaster is a preview of AI disasters to come. From the beginning, Elon Musk has marketed Grok, the chat box integrated into Twitter, because I'm not calling that shit, as the unwoke AI that would give it to you straight, unlike the competitors. But on Twitter over the last year, Musk's supporters have repeatedly complained of a problem. Grok, what? So they tried to say, okay, Grok is left-leaning. If you ask if transgender women are women, it'll affirm that they are. You ask if climate change is real, it'll affirm that too. Do immigrants to the U.S. commit a lot of crime? No, says Grok. Should we have universal health care? Yes. Should abortion be legal? Yes. This person ran all these tests. They used Grok to run this test. Okay. It doesn't, and it had memory and personalization settings turned off. So I guess with those, if it knows you're left leaning, it's going to give you left leaning answers. If it knows you're right winging, it'll give you right wing answers. Which again, all this shit is just like a magic 8-ball. That's how I'm looking at all this AI shit. It doesn't always take the progressive stance on political questions, and again, it asks more political questions. We get down to the news here. This is a fascinating topic in its own right, but we're talking about it this week because xAI, the creator of Grok, has at last produced a counterexample, an AI that is not just right-wing, but also a horrible far-right racist. This week, after personality updates that Musk said were meant to solve Grok's center-left political bias, his own product, users noticed that the AI was now really, really anti-Semitic and had began calling itself Mecha Hitler. Dial says mass shootings have become so normalized in the U.S. that a child's life no longer matters. It matters to I think the majority, the powerless majority, the voiceless majority. And I'm saying powerless and voiceless because the levers and the mechanisms of power that we've known to work here in this country no longer work for us because we don't have the same amount of money. The fact that a corporation is a person and can spend its billions of dollars to support or to try to fight legislation it does not agree with, and the average person, whether they agree with it or disagree with it, could never put their money up and it match or have any kind of equal weight, has been a dangerous thing for the past 20 years. Ever since Citizens United, we've been dealing with this dark money issue, as they call it, because they got to have a name for everything, right? But just to fuck the names, let's lay it bare. Corporations are paying and able to pay politicians off to support their stance of what they need at that point in time. It's not about what the organization is supposed to stand for. It's not about what the organization's ultimate goals are supposed to be. It's about where their interests lie at that moment and how much money they're willing to pay a politician to bend their will. We've seen it time and time again when it comes down to the NRA being able to buy off politicians so there's no gun safety measures passed in this country, whether it be the healthcare companies being able to buy off politicians so they can literally charge us for everything past the point of it even being any kind of quintessential value, a percentage of the value, like actual care and what it actually costs. They can do whatever they want to us. And now the tech billionaires have now got their hands up the president of the corporation's ass and are able to control him to the extent that he will literally rubber stamp anything that they want because they helped him get where he's at. Money. Esquire says not totally true at the state level, especially in places like California and even Colorado. Companies have to keep their heads on a swivel. Correct. But on a federal level where they would just be as liable, and from my point of view, maybe, and maybe not, they get free reign. Don't have to be headquartered. Many state level privacy laws only require that you do business in the state or have customers who are residents of the state. That's interesting. There's no federal privacy law, so the feds leave it to the states. That shit crazy to me. It claimed to be just quote unquote noticing patterns. Patterns like Grok claimed that Jewish people were more likely to be radical leftists who wanted to destroy America. Not true. Then it volunteered quite cheerfully that Adolf Hitler was the person who had really known what to do. The fact that shit said Hitler knew what to do about the Jews and wasn't immediately shut down is fucking crazy to me. Do y'all remember when LeBron James was rapping Future or some shit like that and said he got money like a Jewish person, and that was on like a fucking Saturday afternoon, and by Monday morning he had already released a statement apologizing for even mentioning Jewish people? And this shit is still walking around like there's no issue. Walking around, it's an AI. It's not walking around. I get it. But y'all know what I'm saying. The rules don't apply to these things or these people. And it's just super interesting to me. All that man said was like, I got money like a Jewish person. And they were like, that's a stereotype. That's a stereotype. Get him. Anti-Semitic. You can't say we're rich. That's something against me. And this motherfucker can call himself Mecha Hitler and have no issue whatsoever. XIA has said that it's actively working to remove the inappropriate posts. Y'all own Twitter. The nigga owns Twitter. He could have got rid of that at the same moment it happened. Since being made aware of the content, XIA has taken action to ban hate speech before Grok posts on Twitter, but not the actual hate speech that's allowed to be carried out upon Twitter. How is that not adding up? I don't really get it. Wait, why Mecha Hitler? What? Why would trying to make an AI that's right-wing make one that worships Hitler? The short answer is we don't know. And we may not find out anytime soon, as X hasn't issued any detailed post-mortem. Of course they're not. So it had to be prompted to be able to go that far, and that person still probably has a job. In addition to being a racist AI chatbot, Grok is also poisoning the people of Memphis. Early this month, this is on the 3rd, so this was literally a Thursday afternoon, Elon Musk's XAI attained a permit to power its supercomputer facility in Memphis, Tennessee, using natural gas burning turbines, according to public records shared on Wednesday. The Shelby County Health Department issued the permits on July 2nd, despite months of protests and public hearings where local residents decried the turbines' impact on local air quality. Earlier this week, XAI raised a combined $10 billion in debt and equity. How? Musk's AI startup, which now owns his social media site X, will face formal emissions limits, testing requirements, and deadlines in order to keep operating 15 turbines at the facility. The permit says non-compliance with the requirements could result in daily fines of up to $10,000 per violation. People who live near the Colossus supercomputer, which again, the way they name these things is super weird. Let's talk about that in a minute as well. Because the names of Arendelle, Palantir, that shit's scary when you actually think about the subtext of what that thing actually was and it was saying and what the company does. Whatever. After X fired up the turbines, they experienced poor air quality in the area and found it nearly impossible to keep windows open or exercise outdoors due to the stench. The turbines emit nitrogen oxides and formaldehyde, among other pollutants, according to spec sheets on the websites of the installer, Solaris Energy Infrastructure, based in Houston. SEI markets itself as a power-as-a-service provider able to deliver quick deployment of portable natural gas generators at data centers and other facilities with immediate and significant power demands. Exposure to high level of nitrogen oxides, which are precursors to ozone formation, have been associated with higher risk of death from respiratory disease. And they really just said, fuck all the people of Memphis. Yeah. So that's the whole thing that's happening, bro. Esquire saying, Amazon was trying to put a data center in a western, rural, and largely white part of Virginia. They pulled the proposal before it could even get out because the county people were upset. Crazy how the same strat doesn't work for us in our own counties. Can I show you some shit? Representative Justin Jones denied entry into Music City Loop announcement event. Representative Justin Jones, this was literally 2 days ago. Justin Jones said he was kept out of the event announcing the Music City Loop, the private partnership with Elon Musk's Boring Company, which he said will be built through his district. On Monday afternoon, Governor Bill Lee and Elon Musk unveiled the Music City Loop project. The transportation project, again, every page kind of needs to be zoomed in for y'all. The transportation project is set to bring the company's underground loop system to Music City at zero cost for taxpayers. The loop will be privately funded, connecting downtown and the convention center to BNA with a transit time of approximately 8 minutes, utilizing underground tunnels beneath state-owned roadways. As a result of being kept out of the announcement event, Jones stated the following: despite being hosted by the state and other white Republican lawmakers being allowed in, I was denied entry and told I was not on a private list for an event involving state authorities hosted in my district, Jones said. It's an egregious and troubling abuse of power and an erosion of public accountability. Rather than allow questions or concerns, Governor Bill Lee and the corporate lobbyists running our state government chose to have a private party and exclude those elected by the people to serve and uphold the public good. The project, which requires state approval, is yet another attempt by Bill Lee and his corporate donors to enrich themselves while neglecting public services and real infrastructure needs of working class people who commute to downtown for work at bars, hotels, and restaurants. Musk's Boring Company has been known to violate workplace safety laws and damage water quality, which is why other cities have refused or rejected his Tesla tunnels and why they are afraid of being questioned. The everyday Tennesseans who call House District 52 home deserve to have their questions answered, since they will bear the true cost of this vanity project. And when I tell y'all that he was kept out of this event, I really want y'all to see how they were keeping him. So yeah, man, like the lengths that people will go to operate in darkness when they don't have to. They are winning. They are winning right now. That's the way I'm looking at it. But they're gonna do whatever they want to until somebody ends that shit. So I'm cognizant of, I'm probably not the best person to talk about things because I talk about them with an unnecessary air of just I don't really care. I hate somebody died. I can say that. But when I found out somebody died as a result of a shooter, the whole story of what happened in New York this week was just crazy. From the fact that somebody was trying to go in and shoot up the headquarters of the NFL because they may have CTE is insane. I hate that. What makes the story more interesting, and I'm using interesting in a very broad terms, is that instead of the NFL headquarters, they found themselves in BlackRock's offices and ended up killing a CEO of BlackRock. But if you let the media tell it, they won't tell you that she's a CEO of BlackRock, of a BlackRock entity. They'll just say that she was an executive. Wesley LePatner, a 44-year-old Blackstone executive who oversaw its $53 billion real estate investment fund, was killed in Manhattan's mass shooting. So what do you call an executive who oversaw something? Like, I feel like there's a term for that, like a chief executive officer. Monday's mass shooting in Midtown Manhattan claimed the life of Wesley LePatner, a 44-year-old executive at Blackstone, the company confirmed Tuesday morning. LePatner was among 4 victims killed at 345 Park Avenue when a lone gunman stormed the office building, which also serves as the headquarters of the NFL and features other business clients such as KPMG. The shooter has been identified by police as 27-year-old. We don't really name mass shooters here. LePatner served as Blackstone's global head of Core Plus Real Estate and chief executive officer of Blackstone Real Estate Income Trust, a property fund with $53 billion net asset value and a $275 billion market capitalization. LePatner joined Blackstone in 2014 after more than a decade with Goldman Sachs and was credited with driving the firm's real estate ventures to new heights. A Yale graduate, LePatner served on the boards of organizations including the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Abraham Joshua Heschel School, the UJA Federation of New York, the Yale University Library Council, according to her Blackstone biography page. She's survived by a husband whom she met on the first day of freshman year at Yale, and 2 children. So when you unpack it that way, it seems like more of a tragedy. And I really just want to understand what's going on. I shared something else regarding all of this, and it's like, bro, every day there's some kind of news, something happening in which we cannot, where it feels like us versus them. Like, there are people who don't have our best interest in mind, and when this person passes, it is the sad thing, and I completely understand all of that, and I completely understand where everyone is coming from. I really just wish that context was also given into her job as CEO and what that was comprised upon. Like, let me make sure yeah, I want to share this.
Sympathy for the people that were killed in the Black.
Yeah, I want to share this, and I want to make sure that it goes through, because Instagram has been really hit or miss with me. So I want to put this in the Discord and see if I click this link, if the link just won't pop up. Hey Luna, how we doing? So she's the one that was in charge of creating the housing crisis. Yes. And I'm taking a very roundabout way to say that. Yes. Wholeheartedly.
For those that don't know, Blackstone is one of the largest corporate landlords in the world.
I have sympathy for the people.
So yeah, all of that's a thing, right? And again, you can be upset at the use of violence, but is it not violent that so many people have been taken and ripped from their homes because of greedy people and a bottom line and shareholders? I think so. And in this crazy world, there's so much going on that you just need to be aware of. If it ain't just the systems around you, it's literally nature, you know. Towns, villages, and nuclear reactors were evacuated and airports shut while office workers rushed to higher floors in coastal cities as Japan came under the threat of tsunamis Wednesday following a massive earthquake in the Russian Far East. The country was prepared but on edge, with the 2011 Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami not forgotten and lessons learned from that disaster put into practice. Residents inland went about their business while coastal areas quickly implemented long-planned measures. Around the world, countries readied for the arrival of waves following the magnitude 8.7 earthquake that struck off the coast of Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, about 1,500 kilometers from Hokkaido, with alerts being issued for Pacific Islands, including Hawaii, the U.S. mainland, and Ecuador, and tsunamis more than 3 meters tall said to be a possibility in some places. By the end of the afternoon in Japan, the biggest waves to come ashore measured 1.3 meters, with 1 death reported and no major damage. Elsewhere, the situation was much the same, with waves initially weaker than feared. And I'm glad that they brought back that 2011 earthquake and the tsunami there, because I can't even imagine not only, you know, how a country rebuilds from everything that went on there, but also like survivors. I've seen even like, is it Unsolved Mysteries that's on Netflix now? I feel like I saw an Unsolved Mystery episode about just spirits in Japan following that tsunami. And it's some of the scariest shit you can think about. And just like these situations that people were placed upon because they're living their everyday life. And this just happens out of nowhere. As they mentioned in this article, there was fears of tsunami waves reaching Hawaii, California, and I wish they talked about more, but it's NBC, it's an American company, so of course they're going to talk about America. Tsunami waves reached Hawaii, California, and Washington after one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded. And I feel like how many times in my almost 40 years have we spoken about a natural event being some of the strongest ever recorded? The 8.8 magnitude tremblor struck early today off of Russia's remote Far East and sparked tsunami warnings and evacuations across the Pacific. Hawaii was braced for the most severe impact, but the alert level was downgraded to a tsunami advisory just before 5 a.m., allowing residents to return to their homes. The all clear was given for the entire state later in the day. This fucker, Kristi Noem, said this morning that the threat of damage from a major tsunami on the U.S. coast had passed completely. I get it. I would rather be safer than sorry, because we know what happens when people are not safe because people are not communicating out to them what happened. Earlier this month, we had a severe weather event in Texas, completely inland, where flash floods claimed 78 people. I will be honest with you. When I was pulling together the articles for tonight, and I saw that we were at 78 people dying because of the flash floods in Texas, I thought that had to be wrong. I thought that there was no way we landed on 78. 28 children. They were searching for those girls from that summer camp. Kerr County in Texas Hill Country said 68 people died flooding in his county, the epicenter of the flooding, among them 28 children. Then the governor said that 10 died elsewhere in Texas and 41 were missing. And this article came out on the 7th, so I would really hope that some of those missing were found alive. But I know a lot of the issues came about because there was a lack of communication. The issue with flash floods is a flash flood is flooding that begins within 6 hours and often in as little as 3 hours of heavy rainfall. Waters rise so quickly that people are caught off guard, according to the Weather Service. Many people run into trouble while traveling. If at home or work, the water can rise so quickly that people are trapped before they even have time to think about escape. And that's what happened to residents along the Guadalupe River in Kerr County. They say there was advance notice. They say Thursday afternoon there was a flood watch issued, estimating rising of up to 7 inches in spots. A watch means conditions are favorable for a flood and people should be prepared, but hazardous conditions might not develop. But the watch was upgraded to a flood warning overnight, a notice that impacted 30,000 people. People get trapped in vehicles. People get trapped anywhere, and I feel like that was the issue there. Specifically, I think the heaviest hit was that Camp Mystic. 27 people. This is as of the 7th, that same day. Both children and counselors were dead at Camp Mystic after historic flooding. Again, there we go with that strongest or historic biggest we've ever recorded being a thing that's continually said in our lifetime. Wiped out the Christian summer camp housing hundreds of young girls in the middle of the night. Now, so if this was a watch at a certain point and it upgraded to a warning overnight, whose job was it to communicate with the camp, who probably in the middle of the night is not being as proactive as they maybe could be? I'm not trying to point any fingers at anybody. It's just the nature of the beast, right? As of the 7th, there were still 10 girls and 1 counselor who were unaccounted for. The issue with this specifically is, from what I have seen in the past, this camp was built directly in a spot where in 1987, 38 years ago, there was also historic flooding along the Guadalupe River. And that's what people were talking about in the situation where this had happened before. How does someone build a camp on a site that within the last 50 years had historic flooding and people died? And now paying the price are these young girls who didn't sign up for any of this. It's really sad. It's really sad. And the whole thing harkens back to situations that I feel like could be prevented just with a little bit more preparedness as we deal with rollbacks, decreased funding as a result of the corporation in power. Dozens of Texas parents gathered outside the White House a short time ago. This was on the 21st, so this was last week, demanding accountability and action. The group set out 27 children's camp trunks, each one honoring a young life lost at Camp Mystic. The parents are drawing attention to recent federal rollbacks of critical disaster preparedness systems, including cuts to FEMA, NOAA, and the National Weather Service. They also pointed to the fossil fuel industry's role in contributing to climate change. Meanwhile, the president is moving forward with plans to develop a new national database that will provide precise estimates of flash flood risk across the country. How are you doing that while you are also rolling these things back? While you are also trying to make it to a point where legally the things that we attribute climate change to are no longer a thing, where you're trying to say CO2, greenhouse gases, are not hazardous to anyone's health. How are these two things, how are you able to do both of these at the same time? And the issue being, Leela, thank you so much for that resub, big dog. Appreciate you, 21 months. The issue being, you created a crisis when you roll back funding on FEMA, NOAA, the National Weather Service. And now when you swoop in and become the hero, when you refund the things you defunded, you're fixing problems that weren't even problems before you broke something. And I'm just trying to figure out, at what point do supporters wake up to the fact that this person is lying to you, the fact that this person is playing you, the fact that this person literally has sold you, not only you, but your debt, your body, your health, information, everything they could possibly strip you for, they have sold off to someone who's willing to buy it. At what point do you stop taking a victory lap over this HB1? Because I'm not calling it what they are calling it, right? They said specifically they wanted this bill pushed through by the 4th of July, and they got that. They got that because people who objected to its cost and contents folded. They sold themselves. It was specifically politicians who were like, hey, give me something from my district to make my people feel good, and I will give you what you want. And that's what I feel like is happening a lot with this corporation. A lot of backdoor deals to people who I wouldn't even consider a part of their cult, right? But they'll buy you. And again, like we were talking earlier, that money come into play, and a lot of people forget their morals. A lot of people forget what they're there to do. A lot of people forget who they're there to serve, because money at the end of the day. A lot of the bill was expected to speed up and expand ICE deportations. And they keep talking about this fucking wall, and I just like, bro, this man was president for a whole 4 years and we ain't got no wall. So like, why would I think that the wall is gonna come now? Like, again, it's just a jug so he can hire some people to build the wall, and those people will really just end up stealing money from us, because that's what he has done in everything he's touched. Okay. So not only the wall, but it also strikes a blow against the U.S. government's efforts to fight the climate crisis by phasing out tax incentives created under Joe Biden that were intended to spur investments in electric cars, wind and solar, and other green energy technologies. The bill's centerpiece is a permanent extension of tax cuts made in 2017 during Trump's first term, as well as the creation of new temporary exemptions for tips, overtime pay, and car loan interest that the president promised voters during last year's campaign. The government will lose trillions of dollars in revenue from those provisions, and to offset their costs, Republicans approved an array of cuts to Medicaid, the federal program providing health insurance coverage to poor and disabled Americans, and SNAP. Those changes are expected to cost millions of people their benefits, but the bill remains expensive, and with the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office saying it will add $3.3 trillion to the country's debt through the next 9 years. And all the Democrats did was say that it's one big ugly bill. Because you get it, it's called the big beautiful bill. So if we call it the big ugly bill, that's in your face. Take that. Yeah. We called your it's ugly. Yeah. Get them. That's what they doing. Yeah, they are paid off by some of the same people. And that's the majority, right? But it's not the majority that I'm even speaking on. It's the leadership. It's the people that have the nerve to put their face on the television screen and try to portray themselves as some kind of fucking moral superiority, right? And I feel like, right, each party gets its chance in the sun to come off as, we're disgruntled and I'll tell you why. And they'll say that to all the other disgruntled people, and they'll get all this effort on their side to do nothing productive with. And I just feel like we need new blood. We need younger people. We need more progressive people with progressive ideas, making decisions, pushing things forward. Because what the fuck is this? If you don't know who your representative is and you don't know how your representative votes, I need you to fix that. And as exhausted as I am from the last election cycle, at the same time, I gotta know what the fuck going on, and I gotta know who is up on that chopping block. Because if my representative, let's just say Lucy McBath, if my representative were voting in ways that I didn't agree with, I would be interested in hearing why from my representative. So I would be interested in what they're saying on social media. Oh, Lucy McBath has not used social media since the last time she was campaigning to hold office. Okay. So then I would be looking at a schedule of events to see when you're in your district to do a town hall. And I would want to attend that town hall, and I would want to listen to what you say and how you say it, or why you supported the Genius Act, or, you know, what you're doing to offset some of the horrific things that us as a country are bankrolling and supporting at this point in time. And if you don't have answers that I agree with and am in support of, I will ask you hard questions, and I would want to see how you deal with that. And if there's some semblance of, okay, I know, I hear you, I accept what you're saying, and I'm going to go back to Washington with direct orders to hold these people to the fire and really see what's going on, then cool, you got me for the next go round. But if not, I want to see that young 30-something, because they always say 20-something is too young. That's their number one thing every time. And honestly, it doesn't matter if you're 30-something, because they're going to say you're too young. Look at what they're doing with Zoran in New York City. You know, he ran a great campaign. And I feel like that could be a whole news thing by itself. Ran a great campaign with no support from the establishment. And you know what they do after he win? They still allow that motherfucker, what's that man's name? Cuomo to run independent. Fucking Hakeem Jeffries says, oh, I don't know that man. You could know him if you wanted to, if you felt motivated to do so. But you know what Hakeem Jeffries was doing rather than getting to know the Democratic candidate for mayor of New York City? He was posting pictures on Instagram where he was photoshopping the width of his hips. It was, I know I do bad Photoshop when I'm promoting things with this stream, but that was some bad Photoshop, brother. We could see the park bench behind you warped because you think you have an issue with your own body. And rather than deal with that head on, you want to make it all of our problems when it's not. That's what you were doing rather than gathering, circling the horses around a progressive candidate, because like y'all are saying, they're bankrolled by the same people. It's disgusting, bro. It's disgusting. But you know what is energizing the president's base? You know what they are up in arms about? Do you know what they are trembling in their boots trying to get to the bottom of? These fucking Epstein files. Now, this ain't even it. this ain't even it. Let's go to this one. Hopefully this is a free article. This man ran his campaign saying, I'm going to expose the politicians who were involved with Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, sex crimes, and underage sex trafficking. Knowing he was friends with this man for a very long time. He knew that. He didn't forget that he was his friend. He knew that he was his friend. He knew that he had been in some of the same places he is talking about other people going. He knew that. And the thing is, if you paid if you did this, if you just looked out of one eye, and looked into the guy's background, you wouldn't have to dig that far to see this guy's face. They were close friends. Some people say that Epstein was Donald Trump's only friend. But he whipped up his base, basically trying to weaponize what he knew transpired against his political enemies, even though he was directly involved. So much so that after he got into office, it was only a couple months later when they came to him like, hey, bruh, you know you all through these files, right? You know you in here. Let's just tell everybody it's over. It ain't nothing in here. Nothing y'all got to worry about. And he thought that was going to work. He thought they thought they cooked, as the kids say. And it blew up in his face. They did a lot to try to bury this. Even him being like, oh, we're still talking about this guy? Because he thinks that'll work. It's things that he has been able to do and bully people with his entire life. And it's not working right now. Oh my God, we are really within the first 6 months. Yes, 1000%. Just 10 days ago, we hit 6 months. Just 10 days ago. But I guess my thing about it is, it's so much shit. When you are involved in somebody else's shit, you really involved with somebody else's shit. Last week, or a couple weeks ago, the Wall Street Journal reported that the president of the United States and many others submitted letters for an album for this convicted sex trafficker's 50th birthday in 2003. They say, allegedly, a letter bearing the president's name included a lewd outline of a naked woman and an imagined conversation between the president and Jeffrey Epstein. In the conversation, the two men reflect on how they share some kind of secret knowledge about how there's more to life than having everything. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. The president wrote in this imagined conversation, according to the journal. Then the president said, he ain't write the letter. This is not me. This is a fake thing. It's a fake Wall Street Journal story. He told the journal in an interview earlier this week, I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women. And I just felt that was something funny to me, just specifically because who writes pictures? Like, what is a writing a picture? First of all. And secondly, whether you wrote it or not, I know you know that dude. It sucks that so many people didn't know you knew that dude and that you were able to use them for your own nefarious purposes. And that when they wouldn't let go of something, when you said to let go of it, you called them suckers. I mean, but you do that, though. You've called people who, enlist in the military suckers. You called parents of soldiers who died in war suckers and losers. You've desecrated cemeteries to record campaign videos So you don't have any respect for nobody but yourself. And really not that, because you don't take care of yourself. You sloppy, you fat, you ugly, you comb that hair over your bald spot like we don't know. You say you want to fuck your daughter. Like, you're weird, bro. You're weird. You're weird. And the fact that anybody would look past that and think that you were going to be a champion of the people to try to stop some kind of sex trafficking from your friend, it's fucking crazy to me. Right? It's so crazy that you can do that, and the shit that people will move heaven and earth to protect you. Like, Congress literally went on vacation early to not deal with this, to try to let this blow over, because the people ain't shutting up. The people that y'all riled up ain't shutting up about it. And they want to know what's in the files, including you, right? But even before they get the files, they got to strike your name out so many goddamn times, dog. They need extra time to take your name out the record because your hand's so dirty. And there are people who have been on your side the whole time who are now saying, oh, the thing that they were campaigning for and the thing that they really wanted to get down to the bottom of, now it's a trick because it's against you. It's being used against you. I would call them people the suckers. The ones that are like, oh, we really hate all child molesters and child sexual predators, except the one that, was hanging out with the guy that was doing all the things. Just because y'all knew each other and was close for 20 years, that's not an issue. He made it worse. So he's talking to these motherfuckers on his plane, right? About this guy. He spoke this week at length. This went from I barely knew the guy, I didn't even know him, to he's a creep, he's a weirdo, he's a freak, got a different girl every day of the week. And now we're speaking at length about your relationship with him. So I guess somebody behind closed doors was like, hey, you got to give them something. And this is what he gave them. His accounts raised new questions about when exactly the two fell out and why. The president said on Monday that his relationship with Epstein, who died by suicide in 2019 while awaiting trial on charges of trafficking young girls and women, soured because Epstein poached some employees after he specifically warned him not to. He went on to say that Epstein stole young women who worked at the spa at his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida. People were taken out of the spa, hired by him, in other words, gone, he said on Air Force One. One of those workers, Trump himself said, was Virginia Giuffre. I'm probably messing up her last name. May she rest in peace. An Epstein accuser who said she was recruited by his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, when Giuffre was an underage teenager working as a locker room attendant in Mar-a-Lago in 2000. Maxwell was convicted of sex trafficking minors and is now serving a 20-year prison sentence. Has denied the allegations. Giuffre died by suicide this past April at the age of 41. Trump says, I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Trump first said when asked about Giuffre before going on to say more definitively. Yeah, he stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us. None whatsoever. So now we're admitting that someone who themselves said that they were trafficked by him was stolen from you. Stolen from you. And it's just the language and the things that we use to talk about these things. It tells a lot. IMO. That's how I feel. It reveals a lot. The language of he stole people. You don't have ownership of people, right? So you could say some employees left, yeah, 1,000%. But he stole people, including this girl who was trafficked. And you don't have enough going on up here to see how that could connect you to the sex trafficker. Because that girl went on to be sex trafficked. And so everybody wants Ghislaine Maxwell to testify in front of Congress. These are the people that we should have the most questions about. And she's like, I'll do it if y'all give me immunity. And I just really want to sit and just like let it sit that someone who was convicted of sex trafficking minors and is now serving a 20-year prison sentence could try to negotiate for immunity in order to testify. And I also want to just randomly state that our president typically hands out pardons and some kind of immunity to prosecution to anyone he deems fit, whether it comes with a price tag or a quid pro quo, or you got something for him. And I wonder what Ghislaine Maxwell, who was the right hand of Jeffrey Epstein, who was Donald Trump's close friend and associate for years upon years, I wonder what she could possibly offer the president in which he would be able to flex his powers to grant her some kind of immunity and get out of trouble that she's currently in, or even worse. I wonder if there was something that she has that he would want. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure it's nothing. Nothing at all. So the 5 questions that CNN points out about Trump's ties to Epstein. 1, how close were they? There's quotes going back years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. Bottom line, Donald would hang out with Epstein because he was rich. Okay. Not a fan somehow. Was never on the plane. In fact, flight logs had already shown Trump flew on it 7 times in the 90s. 2, what about Trump's most recent denial, the Wall Street Journal story? Okay. Trump says he doesn't draw pictures. His drawings have surfaced before. A signed Trump sketch of the Manhattan skyline sold at an auction in 2017 for more than $29,000. Another 90s Trump sketch of the Empire State Building auctioned off the same year. Trump in 2008 book recalled donating an autographed doodle every year to a charity. But of course, none of that says that he did this, right? Is Trump in the Epstein files? Without a doubt, it has been said that he is in there. Former top Trump advisor Elon Musk well, that's Elon. I'm not saying anything Elon did. Yes, that nigga's in there. 4, what did Trump know of Epstein's proclivities? That's what everybody really want to know at the end of the day. And what's with Trump's weird 2020 comments about Maxwell? And he basically wished her well when she was going through her trial. I don't know, bro. And it seems like when you go from all of that happening and the block is hot for you, it seems like you would want a distraction. It seems like that would be a perfect time for you to release thousands of FBI records on Martin Luther King. That would be the perfect time for you to claim that Barack Obama is somehow responsible for all of this. Or some shit like, I think what it was they did a study about Russia during 2016 and what their interference could have been in the election. And they just found that there could be a possibility. There may have been efforts by Russia to hack the 2016 election. And the fact that before they thought that Russia had anything to do with it, they said, oh, no, it's not possible. And the fact that they changed their mind after looking into it and said something that they had never said before makes them be like, you know what? These people should go to jail. They should go to jail. What's up with these files, bro? That's what the people really want to know. What's up with these files? And we're at an inflection point that I think is important to understand and to really grasp at this point. There's a lot of stuff going on, bro. It's a lot of stuff going on. And people are not able to control the narrative as much as they would want to. And as horrific as everything has been coming out of Gaza for the past couple of years, because it's been a couple of years now, we're closer to 2 years than we are closer than it being a 1 minute thing, right? And the pictures coming out of Gaza these days of the malnourished children, the starved bodies, there is 100% of famine happening over there. It's a genocide happening. People won't even let you say genocide. You know, we now have to edit what we say because certain words will filter things that will get scrutiny on you that, you know, maybe you shouldn't need, but, you know, whatever. You're saying something that they don't approve of. And what they really wanted was a nice, clean, quiet execution of Palestinians while everyone is watching or purposefully not watching. And I feel like they don't have any control over the imagery coming out of Gaza. So when you see these children emaciated, you see the facts and figures of Palestinian adults are eating less now in Gaza than people who were in concentration and labor camps in Auschwitz. Then you get to the point where shit like this happens. This was yesterday? No, this is today. Where the UK says, hey, we're trying to express some action and exert some force on Israel. So if y'all don't do what we want y'all to do by September, we're going to recognize the state of Palestine. Well, I promise you we will. Don't you push us. We're going to do it. You fix what you broke right now, or we're going to recognize them as a state. And I guess that just makes things more difficult to snuff these people out without major international scrutiny. But where has that been for the past 2 years? Tuesday originally? Yeah, I think it was just because this is AlJazeera.com and not any other suffix. So I think it's just from an American timestamp. His country will recognize the state of Palestine by September unless Israel takes substantive steps to end its war on Gaza and commit to a genuine peace process. But what is a substantive step from a country that will lie? A country that will say that it's allowing aid in, but when people go to get that aid, they're shooting at them, which is what's happening currently. They're setting up these depots where people can come get food, and when they come get food, they're getting shot at. They're getting killed. The UK's decision comes days after Emmanuel Macron, the French president, said his country will recognize the state of Palestine. Starmer says that I've always said that we will recognize Palestinian state as a contribution to a proper peace process at the moment of maximum impact for the two-state solution, which they've been talking about all my life, right? With that solution now under threat, this is the moment to act. So today, as part of this process towards peace, I can confirm that the UK will recognize the state of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza. Why now? Responding to questions about the time of this decision, Starmer cited the intolerable conditions in Gaza and growing alarm over the weakening prospects for a two-state solution. He said he wanted to ensure that the decision plays a part in changing the conditions on the ground, making sure that aid gets in. It's done now because I am particularly concerned that the very idea of a two-state solution is reducing, and it feels further away today than it has for many years. Israel has killed more than 60,000 Palestinians since it launched its offensive on October 7, 2023. Israel says its military onslaught was in response to Hamas-led attacks that left 1,100 people dead in Israel, but rights groups have slammed its scorched earth tactics. 60,000 versus 1,100. Hey, Whoopi, how we doing? What specific conditions does Starmer set out for recognizing Palestine? Again, I just hate this marketing speech because the same thing is said over and over and it doesn't really have any meaning. Take substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza. What does that look like? Agree to a ceasefire. Commit to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution. How likely is that when you have almost wiped these people off the map? The people who are left there are supposed to just do what? Allow the UN to restart the supply of aid, make clear there will be no annexations in the West Bank. And I feel like this is probably one of the biggest holdups. Not only the no annexations in the West Bank, but also one of the things that Israel is stating that they are wanting and will not say, take no for, is military presence in Gaza still. The prime minister also reiterated the demands in place for Hamas, which is release all the captives, sign up to a ceasefire, commit to disarmament, acknowledge that they will play no part in the government of Gaza. You're not asking this of Israel. You're not asking this of Israel. According to experts, the recognition may have limited practical effect, but diplomatically it could be significant, potentially pressuring the U.S., one of Israel's main backers, to reconsider its stance. I mean, come on, dude. You got a dude who say he wasn't friends with a dude who was definitely friends with a dude, say he wasn't friends with a dude in front of other people. He's supposed to take some kind of morally acceptable decision. I don't see it. Again, all of this is not going on in a vacuum. Relentless Israeli attacks. Oh, these are live updates. This is crazy. Israeli fire kills dozens searching for food in famine hit Gaza. Here's what happened today. Since dawn, just today, Israeli attacks killed at least 86 people throughout Gaza, despite the army claiming to be following tactical pauses, with more than 70 aid seekers shot dead. 70 people seeking aid. Canada says it intends to recognize a Palestinian state at the United Nations in September, citing the need for a two-state solution. Again, same exact language, right? Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz joined a chorus of Israeli condemnation over growing announcements of the recognition of a Palestinian state, calling the move encouragement for Hamas. 60,000 people, 1 out of every 36 people in Gaza. 90 people every day. 147 people have died due to starvation caused by Israel blocking the entry of aid. 88 of them were children or infants. How do you support this? How do you support this? Just the thing that keeps going on and on. And I can't help feeling like when it comes down to this, like Epstein shit, I could really care less. Not saying that I don't care, but at the same time, like, we got bigger fish to fry as a country and as a quote unquote leader of the world. And I just feel like, whose water are we carrying by focusing on this other shit over here? The Epstein shit won't matter if they don't actually follow through with the law. There is no law with these people, man. There is none. And people are okay with that. People have to realize that decisions are actually already been made when they decided who they were supporting. When you decided you were supporting the dude that was taking payoffs for pardons, you decided that you were going to support the dude that law and the consequences of law didn't really matter in the long run as long as you had a check that could help him. All of these tech executives supported him because they wanted something out of the deal. We didn't talk about it, but the Colbert and Paramount thing comes to mind, right? He didn't want to go on 60 Minutes. He declined 60 Minutes. His opponent went on 60 Minutes and had a really good interview, and somehow it turned into that person having a really good interview, and so that interview harmed him. He claimed he was harmed by her interview. When in reality, all you had to do was go and do your interview, and maybe you would have come out smelling like roses. I doubt it. Whatever. So you sue the people. Paramount now wants to be bought out by another company, and it needs to be approved by the government. The government, who is now at this point in time, definitely said that we retaliate against everybody. If you ever done us wrong, we're never going to support you, blah, 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 blah. So they pay these people some billions of dollars to settle the lawsuit. It's a bribe. They bribed these people to settle the lawsuit that didn't have no merit in the first place. Then, when you get called out on the fact that you accepted a bribe by not only one of your top stars, the #1 late night show on television, Stephen Colbert, who has been on people's TV for all of their lives. This guy says, oh, he's a hack. He needs to go. And you say, cool. Because of monetary reasons, we will not be continuing the Colbert show or the late night with Stephen Colbert. Which again, even if you take Stephen Colbert away from it, the late night brand for Paramount, Viacom, it goes back further than Stephen Colbert. He really is just the new cat on the show. The brand is brolic, as the internet used to say. Y'all said not only we getting rid of Colbert, we getting rid of the brand. We don't want nobody to come in here and possibly say anything that could mess up this merger. Stephen Colbert, your show's in the next year. And then magically within 2-3 days later, the merger gets approved by the government. And yeah, you fired Stephen Colbert and canceled the show, canceled the 30-year brand of the show because there were financial issues with Paramount. And then the next day after you do that, citing financial issues, you pay South Park creators $1.5 billion to keep South Park going. Edgelords, man. Edgelords have grown up off this show. And that's why I don't fuck with it. Like, this whole, they skewer everything mentality, I guess, if that's what that means for you. But I feel like South Park was definitely one of the reasons that people look at certain people a certain way. South Park is definitely the reason that people who are not smart routinely punch above their weight class because they think they understand an issue. Because South Park does a really good job of dumbing very complex issues down to where people who wouldn't pass 8th grade math would understand it and not necessarily have good takeaways from it, because everything is in jest and everything is up for some kind of joke. And you can call the only black character on the show Token, and it's part of the jokes that are there. And you could have one of the main characters be Jewish, and you could have the show be one of the biggest perpetrators of anti-Jewish sentiment and jokes and mentality in the last 20 years. And it's all jokes because everybody gets the jokes. Everybody gets jokes put at them. But are we accurately portraying what the fuck is going on in this country as a joke or as the nightmare that it actually is? And that's a real good question. And I feel like, cool, we make jokes out of everything. You know, I even said earlier, I'm really on this black comedy shit, so I've been laughing at things maybe I shouldn't have been laughing at. I fell in the tub after laughing about Hulk Hogan. I said to myself, okay, maybe I should just like tone it down a little bit. Tone it down. All right, that's me. What I can't make light of is just there's a certain level of anxiety that everyone's dealing with. There's a certain level of apathy that everybody's dealing with because we're burnt out. We're already burnt out on politics, let alone like politics is actually fucking everybody right now. Everybody's being fucked. And some of us won't even know how fucked we are until like years later. Because that's how it's designed. And I just think that we just need to wipe the whole slate clean. I don't know exactly what that means. I feel like leave it up to interpretation, but I just feel like we need to start anew. You clean out your refrigerator often, I hope, because you cook, you compile things, and maybe you don't eat it all. But that corn that you boiled a month and a half ago is no longer good, and you're not eating it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. South Park is a great propaganda mouthpiece. I get it. I can see that. I can see that. Is there anything that we missed tonight? Oh, rest in peace, Malcolm Jamal Warner. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, that's all I got. Even though Ozzy did support Israel. The Malcolm Jamal Warner stuff messed me up because grew up watching the show, and just, I feel like Theo was a great character, and they had a amazing character development throughout the show. I think if you watch it as a show about the kids, a lot of stuff still holds up. But I also completely understand people choosing not to support that show and its legacy. 1000%. But Malcolm Jamal Warner always seemed like a solid dude. People have said plenty of great things about him, not only as an artist, not only as a actor, but a musician, a Grammy-winning poet, and just a stand-up dude. And I was reading something earlier today from a child actor that we knew growing up, and it made me tear up again just because I'm like, man, some of the good ones are going. Some of the good ones are going. I always remember more from Malcolm and Eddie. We definitely watched Malcolm and Eddie in my household. That's one of my things as well. But again, I think that also Malcolm and Eddie worked because a lot of the gravitas of Malcolm Jamal Warner, and I feel like he earned a lot of that by his previous works on television. I know he was in some more recent stuff. I think The Resident is what people were saying. Yeah, I really feel sorry and feel bad for his family. My heart goes out to them. It's sad. It's sad. And it's not just about people not being able to swim, but it's like rip currents, man, rip tides. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? There's a lot of stuff happening, but I think this is where we gonna end it, y'all. I think this is where we end it. It's Wednesday. July is almost over. We'll be back on Twitch on Friday. I'm trying to decide if it'll be early afternoon, evening, what. Stay tuned on Twitter and Blue Sky because I'll let you guys know then. This weekend I will be in the lab chopping things up, getting videos ready for next week. I want to do this vlog soon, and then I'm also trying to provide a video for movies that I've seen over the last month because I've been to the movies more in the last month than I feel like I have all year. Between Superman, Fantastic Four, I'm going to see Together tomorrow. I want to see Eddington by Ari Aster, and then I want to see Weapons. I feel like those are movies I definitely want to go see. All those movies. I kind of tried to sell myself on Jurassic Park and even 28 Years Later. I still want to see 28 Years Later, but not as much as I want to see Eddington and Weapons. So I'm going to watch these videos. I want to watch these movies. I want to give my genuine opinion about these movies and whether people should see them or not, because this is content that I also want to create here on Twitch and on YouTube. So much love to everybody. Much love to all y'all for coming through. I really do appreciate y'all. Another news stream out of the way, quote unquote. And I appreciate y'all all for being here for it. I want to make sure that we're all like knowledgeable on things going on these days, because there's a lot going on. It's sometimes too much going on. And don't feel discouraged. Don't feel overwhelmed. Take breaks when you need to, but stay vigilant, bro, because they'll try to get some shit over on you if you're not paying attention. And that's really what I have been concerned about, just overall. Wanting to make sure my people know what the fuck going on. What is the good news, Dio? I'm not sure what you're referring to. The first 100% effective HIV prevention drug is approved and going global. An epidemic that's been sustained for 44 years might finally be quelled with the milestone approval of the first HIV drug that offers 100% protection with its twice yearly injections. It's a landmark achievement that stands to save millions of lives across the globe. The makers are also providing affordable access to the drug in the US and beyond, signing royalty-free licensing agreements with 6 generic manufacturers to produce and supply it. In the US, the Food and Drug Administration has approved the novel lenacapavir, sold under the name Yeztugo, a class of drugs known as capsid inhibitors, which provide almost 100% protection against HIV infection, which currently affects 1.3 million people every year. This is a historic day in the decades-long fight against HIV, said Daniel O'Day, chairman and chief executive officer of Gilead Sciences, on the news of the FDA's approval. Yeztugo is one of the most important scientific breakthroughs of our time and offers a very real opportunity to help end the HIV epidemic. This is a medicine that only needs to be given twice a year and has shown remarkable outcomes in clinical studies, which means it could transform HIV prevention. Gilead scientists have made it their life's work to end HIV, and now, with the FDA approval of Yeztugo and in collaboration with our many partners, we can help to make that goal a reality. That's awesome. That's really awesome news. Thank you for making sure that I read this to everybody, because we did need to kind of end this on a lighter note. This was developed end of last year. RFK immediately killed the program, so worries about it being lost was huge. Yeah, I get it, especially with that guy in control. And that's where my main worries about any medical developments are. Like, even if they develop it, even if it get past all the barriers, you know, how can we make sure this gets out to who it needs to get out to at a price that they can afford? And I feel like they did all of the right steps here. So this is great news amongst the cacophony of bullshit that we're dealing with. So kudos. Make sure y'all stay vigilant. Make sure y'all stay safe and stay blessed. You're loved, even if you don't love yourself. All right. My name is Trippz. Thank y'all so much. Let's copy these raid commands. Show some love to A. Christine. Hit that follow button.